Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to another episode of College and Career Pathways, where every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 2 p.m., we provide you with information on various colleges and universities, financial aid resources, technical schools, training programs, skilled trade professions, employment opportunities, career exploration, and career readiness skills, all designed to help you make the best career decisions possible. I'm Toni Curitin, your host, and today we are meeting with Chris Davis from MIAT. Welcome, Chris. We are so glad to have you.
Tony, so great to see you and so fortunate to be here with you all. So looking forward to it.
Chris, you can go ahead and open up your share and get started on the presentation.
Absolutely. I'd be happy to do that. Um, well, hello everyone. It's great to be here. As I said, my name's Chris Davis. I'm with MIAT College of Technology. I've been with the school for 6 years now in an admissions role. Also assistant director of community partnerships. So I work with our school partners, K-12, workforce development agencies, veteran services. I'm also responsible for Wayne County outside of the city of Detroit for partnering with school districts. And I've got a team of three outstanding professionals who are in other areas of Metro Detroit. And that's really where we're centered in our career awareness, career exploration initiatives that we're doing in the schools that have certainly taken on a different form this year, but we're adapting, we're overcoming because the pandemic doesn't change the priority that this is. And we want to be sure that we're, making students aware of these opportunities. So, but if you this is really the reason that I'm here, and it's more a message for the students themselves. All right, is I've worked with seniors, high school students, but I've also worked with adult candidates in my role here at MIAT, and it was clear that as these adult non-traditional students would be returning back to school, that they were in a situation where they were kind of going through some financial struggles or some circumstances have changed. Maybe they topped out in their particular careers and they were looking to kind of change their career trajectory. And so these individuals are in their 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, even, who are looking for a career change into the hands-on skilled trades because they know the wage potential is there, the demand, the shortages exist, which would allow them for them to transition into these fields. But it was clear through the interviews that many of which were, going through their fair share of challenges. And I just, this infographic from Michigan Association of United Ways really highlights that of the ALICE population, asset limited, income constrained, employed. This is a population of people in our state that their families and they're working full time in some cases or overtime, and they're still not able to make ends meet. And so this is a situation that a lot of households find themselves in, which is what really highlights the importance of post-secondary attainment. A lot of talk about 60 by 30. We absolutely want to contribute to that initiative, and we feel as though additional access and receptiveness and advocacy of additional post-secondary pathways like technical colleges, trade schools like ourselves just opens a door and empowers students to pursue an education if they don't see themselves going the traditional route for a path. And so, but 40% of Michigan's population cannot afford basic household necessities. And when I'm talking with the students, it's really gets down to those really essential things. It's not the glamorous stuff that anybody's really thinking that they, are thinking about as they're dreaming and so forth, but it's just things that people really need to have to operate efficiently on a monthly basis. So since 2007, the cost of the very basics has gone up in every Michigan county. Low wage jobs have increased. And let's face it, that's going to be the formula coming out of this pandemic, similar to the blueprint, the playbook that companies utilized to come out of the Great Recession. We're no doubt going to see that again coming out of the pandemic through this economic downturn. So, but 62% of all Michigan jobs pay less than $20 an hour. And I'll talk to high school students about that $20 an hour, 40 hours a week, 52 weeks in the year, that's $40,000. And that might seem like a decent amount to a high school student in that, but it's certainly not what I hear from them that they dream and aspire to do. It's normally, Chris, I want to make six figures, I want to make 100,000, and hey, I respect it. I certainly want to help them explore options where they can achieve all their goals, the full extent of those, and so forth. But the reality of the situation in our state is that the majority of individuals make below that line, and then more than 2/3 of those jobs pay less than $15 an hour. So usually students find themselves in the minimum wage, 10, 11, $12 an hour range. And so there are legitimately adults who are out there who are trying to provide for their families in some cases with wages that are nearing closer and closer to what high school students make as they're working part-time going through school. And I'm sure the high school students in here can maybe relate to some adults who are there and trying to really manage some major responsibilities in their household, and they're working alongside them in those same places. So that's kind of the reality of the situation that's out there. And again, that's courtesy of the Michigan United Ways, just kind of paint a picture of the challenges that we face as a state. And so the salute, the question becomes, all right, how is it that we can help our students find a better set of circumstances and prosper after graduation of high school? And it starts with sending that message about, post-secondary attainment, that high school diploma cannot be the terminal credential. It's not the end all be all. That cannot be what they stop at. There needs to be additional education beyond that. But what we need to embrace is that it takes on different forms. They can go into the workforce, and there may be opportunities out there for them, but we can see that the likelihood that it'll be a challenging experience is far greater. Certainly the military is an option, very noble to go that route. My dad was active duty military for 15 years. I respect individuals going that route, making sacrifices for our country. But otherwise, you've got the educational pathways that has predominantly been, pursuing a bachelor degree. And so the pathways that I'm here to describe to you that we provide training for at MIAT are careers that don't necessitate actually a degree of any level: associate, bachelor, master's, PhD. It's just not necessary for these particular fields in the specialized skilled trades. What somebody would need are the formal, skills, certifications that validate those skill sets, and then more importantly, just those definitive certifications that show that capability. So, without further ado, I want to get into MIAT College of Technology and just making you aware of the careers that we provide training for here. So, there was a question by Jason at the onset, or Mr. Zielinski. My apologies. We got some students in here, no doubt. But we used to be the Michigan Institute of Aviation Technology, and that was before we branched off into some other areas. And now we are MIAT College of Technology. So I've got a 30-second clip here for you that I want to play. It just kind of breaks the ice and gives you a sort of visual that we can work from. It kind of provides a context to everything.
You're technically minded, and you like getting your hands dirty. You're looking for a career that will take you places. Your training starts here. MIAT, College of Technology. From the classroom to the hangar. That's your training every day at MIAT. Join the professionals in aviation maintenance. MIAT, College of Technology. Your training starts here.
So, just briefly about us, we are a post-secondary college. We specialize in aviation maintenance, energy technology, HVAC for heating, ventilation, air conditioning, and refrigeration, robotics and automation, and welding. We're designed for students who are looking to accelerate their education in any one of these high-demand career areas that we offer training for. And the pic that you see there on the left, that's actually an overhead drone shot of our campus. We're located, if you're familiar with the area, at 275 and Michigan Ave in Canton. We're right off the freeway there. So pretty centrally located to many school districts throughout the Metro Detroit area. Brief history here. We've been around for over 50 years, so we're not new to this as far as preparing individuals for opportunities in the specialized skilled trades. We did get our start in aviation maintenance, so that's our flagship program. That's our grassroots. We were originally out at Willow Run Airport in Ypsilanti. And since that time, gone through multiple expansions. We've added programs over time, but we're always cognizant of industry demand. We want to ensure that the programs that we're offering, the training that's provided at MIT, is for high demand fields that have intense shortages for qualified talent. And that's kept us in the hands-on specialized skilled trades. You can see here just kind of a historical timeline of when we were founded. Went through expansions in the early 80s, 90s, and 2000s. So we've grown quite a bit. 2010 was when we moved out to our current campus in Canton. It's 125,000 square feet, very modern. All the hands-on lab training equipment across our programs, including the aircraft, are right there on site in the facility that we have. Later on that year, opened a Houston, Texas campus. Much of that has to do with our energy partnerships. Just a request down there, and what is an energy hub for us in the United States and the state of Texas. So we opened up that campus separately. And since that time, both of our campuses have been approved as degree granting institutions. So while at the core of who we are and what we stand for, we're a trade school, technical college, certificate programs with just the technical training required for employability within these fields. We do have 3 associate degree programs because The reality is that because somebody wants to pursue a skilled trade doesn't mean that they don't want to pursue a degree. And degrees in the skilled trades have advantages with certain companies who are going to require those of individuals to be able to advance and grow into, supervisor, management, leadership types of opportunities. Those degrees can prove really advantageous in that regard. So let me just make sure I'm looking at the chat here. Is this individual's uh, okay? I was making sure I wasn't missing anything there. So just to you, 1 second, get back to my presentation here. So what I've got here for you are just some employers that our graduates have moved on to work for after graduation. All right, and this is it's not a comprehensive, exhaustive list of every company we've ever had a graduate move on to after graduation. I can assure you that, but it's just meant to give individuals an idea of who it is that we're partnered with that lean on us to gain qualified individuals for the employment opportunities that they have, and they're extensive across multiple different industries that we're involved in. So as far as our accreditations and approvals, we are an accredited school. It's by the ACCSC, which is the Accrediting Commission of Career Schools and Colleges. We are certified by the FAA, the Federal Aviation Administration. You have to have that approval to teach people to work on aircraft. We're recognized by the U.S. Department of Education, which is significant because that means that our students who, fill out a FAFSA, determine their eligibility, they're able to gain access to that Title IV funding that they're eligible for through the financial aid process. So a lot of times students don't necessarily know that that's possible at a trade school. So we're proud to have that ability with our students to be able to assist them with that process. We're licensed to operate in the state of Michigan by LARA, which is the Department of Licensing and Regulatory Affairs. And we're also approved for the training of Veterans Affairs eligible students as well. So, in terms of a couple different educational pathways that are out there post-secondary, I want to start as I compare and contrast the two with the traditional avenue. So this is, 4 more years and students get their summers off through that. They're on their own as far as the academic environment. So there is a lot of studying on their own time, a lot of different course options. But if students can't get their classes scheduled properly and in a timely fashion, according to the right semesters and so forth, that's got a way of extending their stay in school. If that happens, could prove to be a greater financial investment. Many social opportunities, there are the distractions that they need to keep in check with that, and typically larger class sizes as well. So kind of, the pick there on the left, kind of the norm in a traditional setting post-secondary. Now in a more focused educational environment, it's a specialized area of study. Students are only gaining the education, the training that they need necessary for the field that they're going into, and the rest of it's all trimmed away. So they'll certainly be a specialist within that area. The likelihood of completion is higher because it's practical, it's hands-on. Students are learning by actually doing it themselves. Students take core classes in the first term, and it's very foundational. It's how it's set up. It moves from basic to advanced. It's very building block. Program continuity is assured because it's more structured, meaning that students aren't scheduling their classes. The program progression's planned out for them. There's a clear start. There's a timeline to that. There's a definitive finish line associated with that, so students stay on track, and typically smaller class sizes as well. So, and when I talk with students, this is what I let them know that is the most important question that they could, answer very confidently about themselves based on where their strengths, where their passions and abilities lie in terms of helping them determine a post-secondary environment that's suitable, is whether or not they would thrive and would prefer a more traditional setting or a more focused environment. And so if they're able to determine this for themselves, it's really going to carve out in many ways what their chosen career path ought to be like as well. Because if we're simulating very closely, in many cases, what that work resembles out there in the career field, somebody will know whether or not they're, wanting to pursue that style of education to obtain that career pathway. So always really emphasize the importance of that question and knowing about the different avenues possible post-secondary. Now, in terms of MIAT, as far as our facilities are concerned, practical and friendly learning environment. We are a small, close-knit campus meant for career-oriented students. So and we really go through that on the front end through our interview process. We're very prioritize very much mutual fit, that we know the impact that has on persistence and retention. It's one thing for students to start school. It's a whole nother thing for them to graduate school. And so mutual fit for us on the front end is paramount. We do this with students one-on-one with their support systems, their families, whether that's parents, legal guardian, what have you, so that everybody is informed about the full extent of the school, the training, all the details about MIAT, where this could lead for a career, And that's what we do on the front end to really find those viable candidates. Because what we found is that when somebody has the interest, the motivation, the commitment levels there towards the career, and they have a sense of purpose and why they're going to school, that they just approach it differently than what they would otherwise. So that's just a real value that we have at MIAT. And once we find the right individuals, the right candidates for the opportunity here, we simulate the professional world they'll be stepping into after graduation, and we train them on the actual equipment they'll see once they gain entry-level employment within the field. Program-wise, what you see here on the screen is what I have for you folks. I don't have a novel of different programs and majors to cover for you. This is what we do. All right. But we know what we do well, which is the hands-on specialized skilled trades. So that's what we stick to. All right. And more importantly, what we've done over time is identified trades that there's a tremendous shortage of qualified individuals, and in many cases, very few, if any, other training providers who are specializing in these areas. So we started out aviation maintenance. That's fixing and repairing aircraft, so jets, propeller planes, helicopters. These programs here are going to have the full extent of training on all the systems of the aircraft from nose to tail. So in aviation, they divide up aircraft into two main areas, airframe and power plant. Power plant is the engine, whether we're talking about a jet turbine engine or a reciprocating engine on propeller-driven aircraft. And then airframes, all the other systems on it. So the mechanical, the electrical, hydraulics, pneumatics, avionics, which is like navigation, communication systems, and also the structures, what they're made out of, be it sheet metal from previous generations of aircraft that are still in use today, or the more modern aircraft that are made out of composite materials for lightweighting purposes, for fuel efficiency. So a lot's changed in decades, and these technicians need to know and understand the full extent of what's out there and all the systems on it. So airframe and power plant technician certificate pathway, and then the Aviation Maintenance Technology Associate of Applied Science. These are stackable credentials here at MIAT. So students who would opt for the associate degree would first complete the 20 months of training on the technical side of it without interruption. So if they stayed on track grade-wise, attendance-wise, that's what they'd be looking at as far as the timeline. And then 4 additional months of gen ed coursework, which would include intermediate algebra, English composition, public speaking, organizational behavior, environmental sciences, and intro to sociology. Those would be the 6 gen ed classes that would be required to earn an Associate of Applied Science degree in aviation maintenance technology. Now, it's important to understand about the skilled trades. That degree, without the license earned to be able to work on aircraft, is just not going to have the benefit that it would with the license in tow. The door opener into the industry for employability as an aircraft mechanic is a license through the FAA, which is possible upon completion and passing of the licensure exams through the certificate program. However, once in the door and employed, the way to climb the ladder and move up, the associate degree would prove advantageous to be able to do that. So 20 and 24 months respectively, both without interruptions for aviation. Top middle, energy technology. There's a lot of talk about dialogue surrounding electricians, and I tell you what, it's a fantastic trade. We certainly need those phenomenal opportunities out there. But that familiarity and that streamlined term with that, it's great, in terms of the wiring of homes and businesses and so forth. We need electricians. However, the work that they do is all for naught if we can't produce electricity to begin with. And so the programs that kind of fall under the umbrella of energy technology for us are the individuals that are at the very core of producing electricity to begin with. So industrial maintenance, that's a 7-month program if there's no interruptions. And it's basically power generation, power plant operations. So more on the traditional side for the utility companies and other companies that produce energy. So obviously that's through burning fossil fuels and power and turbine engines and so forth. And that's where the brunt of our energy resources derive from. All right. So we're phasing out coal, moving more towards natural gas because it burns cleaner, but nonetheless, there's fossil fuels are being burned to produce energy through turbines and engines and so forth. And we need individuals behind the scenes who can be around that equipment and inspect it, service, repair it, troubleshoot it, and so forth. So that training is on gas and steam turbines, diesel generators, compressors, pumps and valves for pipe fitting. There's AC/DC and 3-phase electrical that's involved in that. Industrial controls, hydraulics, pneumatics, high pressure boiler systems. And also there's some welding incorporated as well. So it's a very versatile skill set that can go into the traditional side for the energy sector, but individuals can also take that into any of these industrial plants that we have all throughout Metro Detroit. If there's heavy equipment behind closed doors being utilized for a variety of different purposes, they need maintenance technicians in those facilities. Industrial maintenance would allow that to be possible. So 7 months if there's no interruptions there. Now, we know the traditional means is what we've been doing for decades. It's what we rely upon to produce energy, but it's not what we can continue to do all right, moving forward for the long term. We need to find a more sustainable, renewable way to do that. And that's where we see in the energy sector the uptick in both wind and solar. All right. So our wind power technician program also takes 7 months to complete, staying on track. And this would be the skill sets to work as a wind power technician. So these individuals would climb these wind towers. All right. It's enclosed. There's a ladder. They would harness up, attach to a secondary cable, take their tools up to the top of the nacelle, and fix and repair any of the electrical, mechanical, hydraulic malfunctions on the turbine. So it's certainly needed. These wind turbines continue to go up as we supplement the grid with more renewable sources. It needs to be understood, though, that these individuals more than likely will be a traveling type of position, right? So they're a few weeks, couple months out on the road. They're staying in hotels. They've got that taken care of by the company. They're getting paid per diem for like a daily food allowance. So they're getting that taken care of as well by the companies that are out there. And they're there for a few weeks, couple months at a time, return home. They're home for a couple of weeks and head back out. But we've got them here in Michigan. You know, they're out in the country, out in the farms and that type of thing. But the real hubs for these are in Texas, Oklahoma, Kansas, Iowa, the coastlines of the United States. So if a student's been in Metro Detroit and they're very familiar with it, and they're like, you know, I want to get out and I want to see other places. I know there's more to this world than just what's going on here. Let's get out. Let's see it in a field that's growing and is continuing to grow, and the projections are very strong for it long term. 7 months if there's no interruptions there for a certificate from MIAT. The Energy Technology Associate of Applied Science degree takes industrial maintenance, wind power, combines the technical training together so graduates will be able to go either direction as the energy field continues to transform. And there are those gen eds that are required for that as well. 16 months if a student stays on track with that. Top right-hand corner, robotics and automation. This is really about advanced manufacturing. You know, let's face it, in Metro Detroit, we build things, and the we is changing. You know, historically, it was people at workstations, production style assembly line environments, and so forth. And as technology has advanced, as companies have invested into the resources for robotics and automated and autonomous systems, these systems are coming in. They're eliminating those production style, repetitive style, you know, types of positions. But with that, they're creating opportunities. These individuals now that are in there and working around these robots to be able to you know, do the programming, coding, the networking, work on the AC/DC three-phase electrical, work on the robotics or the machine itself, knowing how to understand CAD and being able to utilize 3D printers. I mean, this is what all of FIRST Robotics and everything revolves around. It's just not, you know, out in the real world, they're not having a ball go through a hoop or something like that. They're actually producing in those facilities. So it's building on those skill sets or taking those skill sets for the first time and helping individuals have a place in the advanced manufacturing sector, which is really the lifeblood in our area. We're the automotive capital of the world, and we build things. Post-recession, we've learned there's many companies now that are like, hey, we don't have to just make automotive parts. We can make aviation parts. We can make military related vehicles and so forth. So tremendous opportunities in robotics and automation here and in other manufacturing hubs throughout the country. 12-month certificate pathway, 18-month associate degree, again, without interruptions. Bottom left, HVAC, heating, ventilation, air conditioning, refrigeration, otherwise known as heating and cooling. All right. So we're training on the installation. So these systems going in the very first time in new builds, new construction, but also in service and repair as well of both residential and commercial systems. So for homes and businesses, furnace, central air, boiler in a home, commercial rooftop units, refrigeration, walk-in coolers in restaurants and you know, gas station, big box stores, you name it. Our graduates will be trained to put all those systems, you know, put all those systems in the first time and also be able to repair those. 9 months without interruptions. One thing I will say about HVAC and to the students here as well is that it's important to understand that this is a customer facing role. A lot of times in the skilled trades, they can be on a crew or something along those lines. In HVAC, they're a technician that's working independently, and they stop into people's homes and businesses and they talk directly with individuals. But if somebody wants to help people and their furnace goes out and they're the one that shows up at the door and they get it back up and running again and so forth, I mean, these households and these business owners are thankful for that. So it's a really rewarding career in that regard. Leaves us with welding. 9-month program if a student stays on track. It's a versatile skill set, multi-process and MIG, TIG, and stick welding on both steel and aluminum material. So wherever anything's getting built, assembled, constructed, manufactured, there's a need for welders that are fusing metal together, right? It is a high precision trade, attention to detail paramount, the closest thing to an art form in the skilled trades. All right, 9 months if there's no interruptions for a certificate through the school. So, but our overall blueprint, regardless of program here at MIAT, is that these are career focused. So we're getting right into what students would need for the career. hands-on even during this pandemic, because since mid-May of 2020, we've been in a hybrid stance. We've done our classroom time online via Zoom with the instructors there, students present. That's where the lecture, discussion, PowerPoints, videos, demonstrations by the instructors all taking place to map out the background knowledge. And then students are still coming out on specified days to do the hands-on training. We're doing temperature checks at the door. It's got to read below 99.5 to come in. Masks are mandatory. Zoned off areas by program, socially distanced workstations in those labs, learning pods of 10 or less students. That's been the silver lining in this, is more one-on-one time, and even smaller groups than even our class sizes are of 20, 25, 30 being the max. They're coming into the lab in groups of 10 or less. We sanitize the tools and equipment when students leave before the next session starts. So we don't claim it to be a 100% foolproof, but we're very proud of the fact that we've been able to continue to move forward during this pandemic and not sacrifice the experience. It looks a little bit different, but students are still gaining those same skill sets. When we eventually return, our students are there every single day. That's what we do. That's just how we operate. But in the meantime, while we're all trying to navigate this, that's what MIAT looks like. So, but these programs, they're accelerated in nature, as you saw from the program timelines, structured and laid out for students. And most importantly, these are employer driven. We didn't make up this curriculum. This wasn't created behind closed doors in a vacuum. It was done in conjunction with employers, with company partners from the field. They let us know what they needed out of entry-level technicians, what they would dream of having people walk in the street, and skill sets to have so they could hit the ground running. That's what we've structured into these with their input, and they keep us up to date as well. So definitely a trade school model, but it's what we do best. So I've got a 3-minute virtual tour for you here so you can see it, much more extensive than that 30-second clip I played for you at the onset. So I'm just going to play it now.
Demand in the skilled trades is incredibly high. MIAT provides the training required for more than a certificate or degree. We're here to prepare you for your future career. For over 50 years, MIAT has been the technical school employers have relied on to find qualified candidates for their high-demand positions. Located in Canton, Michigan, our facility is equipped with real-world equipment used every day in the field. With a variety of programs, our students are provided with the tools to choose the right hands-on career. Employment assistance for our graduates is our top priority. Our programs are based on industry requirements and real-world applications. Our dedicated instructors started their careers in the field and bring that experience to the classroom and lab. Prepare to reach new career heights with training in aviation maintenance. Our students gain the knowledge and skills necessary to troubleshoot and repair aircraft, including jets, propeller planes, and helicopters. As an FAA-regulated school, our students have the opportunity to earn the airframe and power plant license. This nationwide certification opens the door to employment in any state throughout the country. Gain the skills required to power up a career path in the energy sector. Our energy training includes specializations in renewable wind energy, as well as industrial maintenance, power generation, and power plant operations. The training will allow graduates to address our energy needs both now and into the future. Acquire the skills necessary to build a state-of-the-art career in robotics. Our electromechanical programs include the computer, electrical, and mechanical training to design, install, test, and repair unmanned or automated systems. Heating, ventilation, air conditioning, and refrigeration technicians are vital no matter the season. Our students develop the skills required for career opportunities performing installation or repair of both residential and commercial equipment. Provide a spark to your career path with training as a welding specialist. Our students gain the knowledge and skills necessary to obtain entry-level positions in technical industries such as oil and gas, manufacturing, construction, fabrication, and research and development. Ready for a hands-on, high-demand career? Your future starts here.
So, and this just kind of highlights the programs from here. I gave pretty extensive descriptions before, but remember, 20 months if there's no interruptions for the certificate, 24 months if a student stays on track for the degree in aviation maintenance. And in defense of aviation, because obviously there's been few industries impacted in the way in which aviation has been. I want to just take a moment to address that through the pandemic. Is we've still had graduates gain placement opportunities out there in the field for employment even during this pandemic. And really it comes down to, you've got the in-flight operations side of the aviation sector, and you've got the technical operations side. So in the in-flight piece, that's, pilots, flight attendants, individuals tracking the aircraft while they're in flight and so forth. Obviously, if there's not as many aircraft in the air, it doesn't, the necessity of those skills is not where it once was. However, as these aircraft are grounded and they need to be maintained and continue to be expected and kept airworthy, so the ticket's cheap and I haven't seen them in months. Those are things that we're doing there. Oh, sorry about that. See if I can pull my phones off the Wi-Fi. I think I was unstable there for a second. So pilots, flight attendants, in-flight individuals, challenging times, no doubt. But on the aviation maintenance technicians, their workload is intensified. They're not accustomed to having aircraft grounded in the way in which they are, and they have to keep them maintained so that they're safe and inspected and ready to go when they're called back into action. So that's kind of the outlook there, at least for aviation maintenance technicians. And it's got a bright outlook. If we reference ONET data through the Department of Labor through 2029, very favorable outcomes. And I can actually, that's my plan at the end, is to pull up ONET data for all these to be able to go over wage projections and growth trajectories as well. Industrial maintenance, remember, 7 months if there's no interruptions for the traditional power side, 7 months if a student stays on track for renewable wind for that certificate pathway. And then the energy technology associate degree, 16 months if there's no interruptions, industrial maintenance, wind power combined. And, most associate degrees take 2 years to complete it at several places. And so that's less than a year and a half with us here at MIAT for a phenomenal career path in the energy sector that we need. We just have to have power. Robotics and Automation, 12-month certificate, 18-month associate degree. Again, both without interruptions there for the advanced manufacturing sector. 9 months staying on track for the HVAC program for a certificate, and then welding specialist, 9 months if there's no interruptions for a certificate through MIAT. I want to take a moment and talk about employment assistance, because the technical side is absolutely important. Gaining those skill sets, the certifications that validate those skill sets, absolutely paramount. However, when we're talking about a transition from school to career, how well-rounded and well-polished a candidate is on the professional side, absolute priority as well. And so we work with our students while they're with us. We don't wait until they graduate, because all that does is creates a larger gap from the transition from school to career. So it really ramps up in the last couple of months of the program with our students, where our employment advisors will engage with them in our career services department and help them with resume development, cover letters, online applications, honing their interviewing skills to be more comfortable in that environment. And so once they've got all that situated, those credentials will be sent off on behalf of the student to our employer partners in their specific industry. And the names of the employers that have the needs at different times of year, they change. And so it may be a different set of partners that are approaching us in January, February, March in the first quarter of the year than who are at the latter part of the year and so forth. But that's why we have that extensive network. And that's also why they continue to come back to us, as they know what it is that we're delivering on for candidates. So that's the employment assistance piece that we provide on the professional aspect. All right. And normally here's where I evaluate the interest. I do have a Google form interest survey that I'd like to put in the chat, and for students in the Zoom, they could just kind of indicate their interest. It's just, goes through interest level, lowest interest 1, highest interest level 5. It just lets me know where they stand with that. There's contact information that's asked out of that, because if there are seniors in the call that are interested in wanting to explore this further, I talked about the interview earlier. This is preliminary information just to kind of give you a sense of what we do. There's much more detail to cover specific to the careers and the programs. And we do that one-on-one with students and their families present, so everybody has a real clear picture of, what this all entails and where it could go. So, but I do have a link, and I plan to put that in the chat so students can click on that and just let me know where their interest is at. And in the meantime, I will also transition over to ONET just briefly to cover some data there, and I'll be able to field some questions here momentarily at the end. So just in a bit of a transition right here, Toni, if I could just to, or Ms. Curitan, my apologies, if I could to do this for, to kind of cover this information. So one moment, and I'm going to pull this up. So All right. So ONET, government regulated site, Department of Labor, wage and employment projections for a variety of different industries. And regardless of where a student's interest level is at, I would recommend that they utilize this as a resource. It's really a tool to kind of closely survey some particulars in terms of information to really see if things would align in a way that are suitable for the student's interest long term. Because this is about a career. It's not about a job that they're going to be doing for 3 or 4 years before they want to transition. The goal is 3 or 4 decades before they ride off into the sunset and call it good to go. Um, aircraft maintenance. You see there, that's the median wage as of 2019. So that's middle of the road. That's not the lowest paid. That's not the highest paid. That's down the middle. So half of people make below that wage, but half of people in the industry make above that wage. That's the significance of a median wage. So it's not an average where it's kind of, falsely pulled up in ways by an outlier or pulled down by ones that are on the extremes and so forth. This is if they're ranked from top to bottom. The middle of the road technician in 2019 made $30.81 per hour, which comes out to $64,090 annually. And it's important to understand that that's a straight time wage. That doesn't account for any overtime that's a part of that. That also wouldn't account for any total compensation, which is always important for young people to keep in mind. Is we get so fixated on the wage when that's where we come up, and that's what the employers can do in our part-time jobs is throw us a 25-cent raise and we feel happy about that. Is eventually there's going to come a time where going to the doctor, getting to the dentist, do you need to get your eyes checked? So health, dental, vision, 401k, do they have a match? Are they interested in seeing their employees retire eventually? Tuition reimbursement, do they want to see them return to school? In aviation, flight benefits, surveying that situation. Some companies have, some don't. It's just really something that needs to be looked at closely, but they compensate these technicians. They want to keep them around because they know they can't just stumble upon these people regularly. It's that there's a shortage that's out there. Faster than average growth, as you can see, 5 to 7%. So at a time when many careers and so forth are ceasing to exist, this is still showing growth through 2029. And I will add as well, if we scroll down here, maybe some people would be skeptical about that during the pandemic. This information has been updated as of November 17th of 2020. So it's even taking the pandemic into account and what's happening in the industry. What's going to happen, no doubt, and it's what happened in the first economic downturn, and we saw this in other industries, is that there's going to be incentives put in place for people to retire, which is going to, again, exacerbate the pipeline for technicians. They're going to need more young people stepping into these roles. So that's aviation maintenance. All right. So if we go just briefly here and scroll back up, I want to show you industrial maintenance. Oh, nope, incoherent. That's not what we're looking for here. So industrial machinery. There we go. So industrial machinery mechanics, scrolling down here. Remember, this is a 7-month program if there's no interruption. So, if a student comes to me and they're like, Chris, I'm hands-on. I want to be sure that I have a high wage potential, high demand opportunity, but I don't really feel overly passionate about any particular field. Industrial maintenance is a fantastic option because it can open up so many doors into industrial plants in Detroit or energy environments and so forth. $25.77 per hour, $53,590 annually, 8% or higher on the growth for industrial machinery and mechanics. We need these here in Region 10, which is the Tri-County area as far as workforce development is concerned. So we need young people to pursue those careers and have that versatile skill set that companies are looking for. Wind turbine service technician. Again, if somebody's willing to embrace that there's traveling that's involved, it is a bit of a different lifestyle, but they're able to see different parts of the country, and there's places to go from there. There's growth that can be had. It doesn't have to happen traveling wise long term. There's places to go, but that's certainly what it will look like on the entry level as somebody's growing in this career. You can see here $25.44 per hour, $52,910 annually. Again, much faster than average growth in this sector, 8% or higher. Again, 7-month program, staying on track. See here, robotics. All right. We need individuals to be around these very complex machines that are doing all this manufacturing and assembly of goods that we have such a demand for, and not just vehicles anymore. It's a lot of things. Even in warehousing and distribution, if you're not familiar with what's going on Amazon and how they've got autonomous systems in warehousing and distribution, there's people in there, but they're working closely alongside robots to move goods and packages. And so it's extending into a variety of different industries. $28.05 per hour, $58,350 annually. You can see 3 to 4% growth. And we're a mainstay for the manufacturing sector here in Metro Detroit, which is why we've offered that program there. Heating, ventilation, air conditioning, and refrigeration technicians. So you'll see not as high of a median wage on this one. Remember, just a 9-month program, staying on track if there's no interruptions, but practical, because we have a need in Michigan all times a year for our systems to be maintained. And so 23.43 per hour, $48,730 annually, 3 to 4% growth for heating and cooling, which leaves us with welding. So if I get into welder here, there we go. So scrolling down here, let's see. So you can see the lowest of the median wages of the career paths that we offer training for here at MIAT at $20.43 per hour, $42,490 annually, 3 to 4% growth through 2029. What's important to understand is this, is that welding is different than the other trades that we're involved in, is that technicians, when they have their certificate, they've got the credential that shows that, okay? Somebody's going to need to get an AWS certification, but that's not going to come until they're years into the field and are very much more diverse. But in terms of getting into the field to initially begin and start their career, having the booth time with us to be able to transition is significant, because all these employers in the welding industry put welders, entry-level welders, through a welding test. And so the other careers are fortunate that they can just furnish that certification to show and validate that those skills are had in welding outfits and companies and organizations and such. They're going to, as part of that process, say, this is what I need you to do. We're going to sit here and watch you do it and grade that out. And that's got implications on a variety of different factors that revolve around what you see right here. So those who are really, really good, they're going to see that. All right. Those who are fairly average, but still needed, are going to see that reflected as well. So that's why it's really important that they really hone that skill set while they're with us in welding. So that was just a glimpse into the wage and growth potential within these particular careers, which I still am amazed by, that if a student is more hands-on, does not want to pursue a traditional route, it's not for them, it's not where their strengths, abilities, and passions lie, that they can feel empowered about the options that are out there for them for a long-term career for both themselves. And if they choose to take on more people as their lives evolve as well, these careers can grow with them. So, yeah, that's what I have, everyone. I appreciate your attention. Thank you so much for the time and the opportunity. And again, what I'd like to do is I'm going to take the link that I had to the survey and drop that into the chat function so that students can fill that out that are on the line. And then also teachers as well. If I could, contact information, it would be great to partner with you. It's been great working with Toni over Ms. Curitan, excuse me, over the years. And so it's just great to have those relationships built out and know where educators are at and who it is that they're engaging with their students and so forth. So, but dropping that.
Can you flip to slide 17 on your presentation again? Because I was taking just a picture of those few slides that you were talking about, each of your different.
Yeah, no, I'd be happy to do that.
And that's the one that I didn't get.
Okay, no problem. Happy to do that.
I think it was the industrial one.
Oh, industrial maintenance. Okay. Sorry, yeah. Mr. Z, did I move too quickly through there? I apologize for that.
No, you could. I kind of forgot that I was doing it when I did that. So, but I have a few people in mind that I'm going to send this stuff to right now. Not even like students in my school, but people I know,
Oh, understood. Yeah. And that's, I mean, if this is not meant for everybody. And so when somebody gets this message behind what it is that we're actually doing, it's not unusual that light bulbs are going off about, hey, somebody that could really benefit from this and so forth. And again, we've got, non-traditional students who are in attendance as well. Individuals in their 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s. I've worked with students who have, redirected from traditional college or community colleges starting out. They wanted to kind of pick up some credits and realize quickly that they need something in front of them, something hands-on, and then all kinds of career changing types of scenarios as well. But that's, I talk about rewarding to watch somebody in their 30s with a wife and 2 kids graduate a 9-month program and know they have a career in heating and cooling, and they stepped away, and just to see them highly sought after. And it comes full circle for me as a person who helps them get into school and get this career path started out. When the employment advisors that I work closely with, when they send out the notifications about individuals employed with different companies, it's like, that's when it's a mission accomplished, because that's when they launch their career and they're off and running with everything, and they change their lives and the lives of the people they care about the most. So it's really it's pretty inspiring stuff. But
no, so, I've seen schools that that specialize in one of these basically. But sure. Do you have many schools around here that, let's say, for aviation and for the wind power, Do you have a lot of schools around here for competition?
No, and that's really, those two are a real niche for
Yeah.
us.
Okay.
Aviation. So there's 6 schools in the entire state of Michigan that can train the pipeline for aircraft mechanics. We're the only one in Metro Detroit.
Oh,
And so,
wow.
yeah,
Okay.
the next closest is Lansing Community College, and so
Okay.
if somebody were to go to Western Michigan, they would have to be willing to pursue a bachelor degree to pursue a career as an aviation maintenance technician, which we know that that length of path and all the other classes that would come with that are not necessarily what hands-on individuals inspired to go into aviation are really motivated to do. And so, yeah. And then as far as wind, yeah, very few schools out there training for renewable, wind technicians. There might be some programs here locally that are contributing in some way to the energy sector or on the industrial side, but renewable wind, yeah, very, very specific. So
That's really neat.
um,
Really neat.
absolutely.
Chris, what are the
So
tuition costs for
So no,
MIAT?
so what we do this differently here at MIT, where instead of having a standard cost per credit hour for each of the programs, and then there's just different credits that are a part of that. What we do with students and their families is that we've got a budget worksheet for each one of the programs that we offer, certificate and associate degree, and it's got the tuition breakdown on that. It's got the books, the supplies, the tools, the laptop. It's everything that students would need. And so basically, through the interview, once we identify whatever career pathway that they're on, we cover that, and with the student budget worksheet with the family present and so forth. And then we get them aligned with our financial aid advisors so they know what that looks like. But it very much depends on level of training, clock hours that are involved with that as far as that's concerned. Aviation maintenance being, the greatest investments of any of the programs represented. And then it kind of changes with the program lengths, just for however long we have them for, that we need them for to train them, is going to dictate kind of what that looks like. So, but yeah, students are able to work through the financial aid process with a financial aid advisor on the FAFSA. And once that comes back, we know definitively how it all breaks down individually for the students. So that's what we cover with them through the interview.
Good deal. I was also really pleased to see a lot of women, young ladies in your videos. Do you have a lot of young ladies attend your
So
program?
no, that's a great question. So I would say, they're represented. Absolutely. We see a female demographic at the school, but I tell you what, the trades in general have a real, there's a gender gap that's there. Like
Yeah, yeah.
employers are only getting a fraction of who the potential workforce could be. And really we're looking at there. And whenever I address that question with other groups or community partners or what have you, is that's a societal effort that we need to work on as a whole to really empower young women to know that these are careers that they can pursue as well. Some of the highest achievers that we have, some of the most highly sought after candidates that we've graduated from our school have been our female students, because there's a real interest in these skilled trades and with these companies to have a diverse workforce. So when we're talking about underrepresented populations, whether we're talking about from an ethnicity perspective or gender perspective or veteran status, absolutely there are a push in industry to diversify the workforce. So that's the messaging that I give when I head out, and the same thing in the classrooms, to take that right to the grassroots of like, hey, look, it's you can be whatever somebody is to be able to pursue these careers and do them well. It's just really about gaining the training and embracing the opportunity to learn it and to do it. So
Chris, what does a recently graduated high school senior need to apply to MIAT?
So no, great question, Ms. Kiritan. So basically, the biggest thing for us is that interview process that I talked about. So it starts with addressing an interest. We don't just accept online applications like a lot of schools do, because we know that that just does not tell the entire story about a hands-on student. We know and understand that and it's no fault of the Michigan Merit curriculum, but it's a college prep curriculum. And so for hands-on students to really shine in that environment in particular, we usually don't typically see the full potential demonstrated by GPAs and SAT scores for individuals that aren't really motivated to pursue that avenue. And so we know that asking for that data and extracurricular activities and essays and so forth doesn't really give us a full glimpse into where that interest is at, what their motivation is like, what their commitment is to this career. Because some of the lowest achieving GPA students that I've seen come through high school have been some of our, near 4.0 students in this environment when it caters to their strengths and this is their learning style. And so So we don't, we're not distracted by those. I mean, we're certainly looking at that from an academic perspective, but we want to see if this environment would be more suitable for mutual fit, perseverance, and retention purposes. So having the right people here has allowed them to be really successful. But for recommendations written about a candidate post interview, through that we would work through the formal application process at that point. As far along as a high school student could get through the process would be what we refer to as conditional acceptance. And it's basically a formality of them having to demonstrate that they graduated high school. So they would still need to be on track to graduate. They would need to be able to, at that time, to furnish that documentation that shows that they completed high school, or GED. So high school diploma or GED could be their final transcript that shows that they're a graduate. We would work with them through the financial aid process. And I tell you what, I mean, don't get me wrong. We have students who take an interest in this and they don't make it to meeting with financial aid because plans change or whatever that may be. But there's so much talk about wanting to get students to fill out the FAFSA, and they don't feel strongly enough about why they are. And so there's these FAFSA campaigns like, oh, we want to help you get this paid for, and it's like, what? What do you mean? They just don't feel strongly enough to mobilize them or their parents, because they're dependent students, to take that step about something that they don't even really know or understand where it's going to lead. So we start with the end in mind, kind of reverse engineer and work our way back and say, hey, this is the career. This is what we're training people for. Could you see yourself doing this? This is what the potential looks like. This is the life you could lead because of it if you choose. Yes, that's what I'm here for. That's what I'm looking for. Okay, great. Now let's work back, go over the training. And then if they feel empowered with that, all right, now let's talk about the means with which to find out what the resources look like to bring this about. Oh, okay, now I see this. Let's do the FAFSA. We got a roadmap for that. That's where we get with financial aid. So it's contradictory. I've noticed from certain areas where it's just like, hey, let's get that filled out. And the students and the parents in particular are very much like, well, why?
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's hard. That gets to be really, really difficult. I've seen that as a challenge across post-secondary. Is like, there's just so much money left on the table and these students are not going to access it. And we need that in Michigan. Well, let's get them feeling strongly about a career and where
Yeah.
they could go to obtain that. And when they do, and they're mobilized to move, they will seek out resources that will help them do so. Why? Because they feel strongly about where it'll take them. Purpose driven. So that's just the mentality that we have. And it's just served us well over our time with our candidates that we work with. So.
Chris, do you guys have a rolling enrollment?
So we actually have, I mean, the first opportunity that students would have, excuse me, coming out of high school, assuming they graduate at the end of the year, would be our fall classes. However, we have opportunities for, adult non-traditional students at various times throughout the year that they already have the full extent of credentials that they would need through the interview process to prove their graduation and so forth for on-ramps at different times of year. So it's both in that regard. We're there to serve both of those populations. If we've got students who are prepared and have the appropriate, terminal credential that they need to demonstrate high school graduation or proof of graduation, we can work with them for specific dates. But typically for high school seniors that are graduating at the end of the year, that first on-ramp would be the following fall. So.
And do you offer day as well as evening programs, or is it just day?
Yep. So great question. So our schedule is Monday through Thursday, and generally speaking, we're either on a 7:30 a.m. to 2 o'clock schedule. So that it's a 6-hour day with a half-hour lunch, similar in nature to what students are accustomed to, for a school day. However, we do have there's slight variations to our afternoon schedules, again, Monday through Thursday, but typically the majority of them are going to fall within that 4 to 10:30 timeframe. Slight deviations to that. 4 to 10 for robotics and automation, 5 to 11 for HVAC. And we just kind of came upon those and just doing some feasibility studies of individuals. It seemed as though a lot of people who wanted to pursue HVAC needed to be able to do that after a work day. So that 5 o'clock start time was better for them as far as if they had a first shift opportunity, and a different slight variation for robotics and automation. So welding has 3 shifts. We go Monday through Friday, 5 hours a day, Monday through Friday. And they're very quickly into the booth in welding. I mean, they get a couple weeks, if that, in terms of classroom instruction online, and then they're out there in the lab. They have to be they're honing that skill set. Technicians are different because they go in the classroom, they learn a system, they go out into the lab and they work on it, and it's a constant back and forth. When you're a technician, when you're a welder, they know what to do. It's all about how you do it, and it's just about the hours in the booth. You are what you repeatedly do in terms of becoming a welder. So that's where that focus is at there. So it's tremendous booth time in that program. So, but let's see, no, I'm sorry, 7 to noon, 7 a.m. to noon, 12:30 to 5:30, 6 to 11 are the 3 shifts. Morning, midday, and evening schedules for welding. So, but yeah, Monday through Thursday, we do on average on once a month have a Friday class. What that Friday class allows us to do is to get all the hours of training in for those programs. We've got breaks that are scheduled into our calendars. They're just not the length of traditional college, university, or like high school, where it's like the whole summer off and extensive Christmas break and spring break and all those. We do have some holidays throughout the year, and we do like a week in the middle of the summer, and then a week at the end of the year around Christmas and New Year's. But the whole goal is that we're allowing our students to recoup, but not sending them out for so long that we run into that, summer melt and all those other things that we run into. Just trying to get back, hitting the ground running again with coursework, because the reality sets in that they're only with us for a certain amount of time to get them prepared, and then they're out into the field. It's about helping them to transition with the appropriate credentials. So thank you so much for those questions, Ms. Kierton. Thank you.
Anybody else have questions?
No, but thank you very much.
Thank you for the opportunity. So I appreciate it. Is this all teachers or career development facilitators, college counselors on the line with us here?
Let's see. I would say a few teachers that I can see.
Okay. Yeah.
Yep.
And if we could, if you have an ability to, if everybody could, drop their information in the chat, I'd be happy to, connect with you and just see about additional opportunities we're always looking for ways to partner. Of course, now in the pandemic, it looks much different, but I have every intention to see and explore about bringing back our summer camp opportunities, whether that's in a hybrid kind of socially distanced type of opportunity for this summer. We did it two summers ago in 2019. It was really successful for us. We had 150 students between 2 dates on a Friday. Students were able to come out. They did a project in each one of these different areas. They were there for a day on a Friday. It was like 9 to 3. So they did 4 projects. We fed them, got them a t-shirt. Of course, it will look way different. This year, I'm already kind of exploring ways that we might be able to make that happen. Not even rolling out what could be like a curbside pickup of supplies, to do that virtually from home with the instructor, of course, with, parent waiver signed that, hey, student's going to do this project. And it's usually something fairly basic. We can't get into anything too advanced in the time that we have, but, we've had a number of students that was their first experience with MIAT, that they didn't know about the skilled trades and they didn't know if they were hands-on, but getting to come out and do that and then learn about a career and engage with the instructors and be in an environment that seemed more suitable for them, it proved to be like an initial on-ramp for them. So stay tuned for that. I would love to be able to circulate that information to you if we get that off the ground. Every day is a work in progress during this thing, right?
Good deal. This sounds really fun. I did
It
something similar to that at the electrician school in Warren.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah,
So that's
it was a
fantastic.
blast.
Yep. And we're looking to see however many of those we can creatively do here in 2021 as we're coming out, hopefully, the other side of this thing. So, but thank you so much for your time. All right. Ms.
Thank you,
Kirsten,
Chris.
thank you
We
so much for
appreciate you.
wonderful seeing you again.
Thank you
Thank
guys
you.
for
All right,
joining.
absolutely.
Everyone have a great day.
You too.
Thank you, you too.
Thank you.
Well, that's all we have for today. I'd like to thank everyone for joining us today on College and Career Pathways. If you need any resources, if you need any assistance of any kind, feel free to reach out to me. Again, my name is Toni Curitan. My phone number is 586-842-0558. My extension is 312, or you can reach me by email. My email address is TONIC, the @ symbol, ATSEDU.net. Thanks again, everyone, and have a great day.